Hello and welcome back to a new video. Yep, I am going to touch the subject this time around. No, I am not a high key pusher. No, I did not play a lot in Season 2. But what I do have is insight, some experience to an extent, and also have a degree in being a coach. A bachelor degree at least, but from a jokingly standpoint at least, I want to try to put some information out and try to split it up a bit in terms of what are you actually looking for, because there's a lot of lists out there, and I also think that many of the people that make lists are really good at reminding people of it. But I think maybe the biggest thing that are highlighted in the bottom here is who are you and what do you want to do? Are you Weekly Wendy, Pushing Key Paul, Blast Key Barry, Weekly what? I'm a Premade Patricia, goddamn. Fresh Key Freddy. So it's, I want to do keys, but I never really do. Like, you can even divide them in more, right? But I want to try to make this a bit quick and easy to understand for people. Is that if you want to push keys on a high level, you need to put yourself in the shoes of the guys that are doing it already, and they are playing the game a ton, and they are trying to understand their role, not from a damage meter perspective, but trying to understand the role in which it can contribute to the team's perspective at most, right? You're trying to understand your role, and you're trying to go in and trying to want to improve, and trying to understand that a kick, for instance, that makes a mob do 300 less K damage, for instance, is worth a lot more than doing 75k damage in the same global, right? So I just want to try to remind people to try to understand what are you actually looking for, and with that I've pulled out the list from the last week, I think, on YouTube, and from people that I knew about, because I have to admit, I'm not a big YouTuber. I kind of live under a rock. Stubborn old guy that seeks out perspective when I want to. Maybe not the healthiest, but I also know that I'm not the best, and haven't really tried. Maybe I'm going to try soon. But anyways, I want to try to, from that perspective, try to pull out the list that I have right here. Is from last week, from some of the known people, and I also wanted to try to point out some of the biases that these people have in terms of how they look on the keys and whatnot, right? First, we're gonna talk about PTR. PTR is not the end game that we are gonna meet, so we don't know what Mythic Plus is gonna bring, right? Because PTR is still getting worked on, and PTR also limit your gear to item level 444, and you don't really know how the scale is going to affect your tune, right? You have some kind of assumption, but people are not gonna sit like Elitist Jerk Day when you went on that website and like pinpoint a spreadsheet on everything. And if they are there, where the fuck is the YouTube on that though? But anyways, I think at least for high pushing keys, Dorky's list is by far the most accurate, just because this guy sits day in and out, maybe in the most boring season ever made to this day. Mostly because it's the stale meta, but also because World of Warcraft retail has had some insane competition in terms of hardcore World of Warcraft and other Warcraft coming out like Wrath and things like that. But also Dorky has an extreme good grasp of what is really good and plays with the best, and that's also maybe the weakness in his list, right? Even though he tries, like he made this list with that in mind on his Twitch channel and trying to include the most things that he thinks is the best. But let's just go back a bit. If you talk about, he also made the list maybe a bit later on into the season where there were a lot of changes, and season 2 came out really fast and there were a lot of changes really fast, and Bear ended up being really good. I think he knew a lot in advance, but maybe didn't want to spill the tea, which I do understand. And I think also the reasoning right now, while he wants to include a lot, and I really like his list. It's like meta, and I don't think it's group fillers, it's something else, like possible meta, maybe it was the name. And then he had like Gudge, which is not included because I don't include, and he didn't either in the end of his video. If you want like a thorough go through and the thought process behind every single class, go to his list and check it out. I can leave all of the lists that I checked down in the comments below, but at least this is the TLDR of his list, and I think from his list it's gonna be this. It's gonna be this. That's the top 5 on Raider.io. Maybe not the whole season through, and I really don't hope the whole season through, but this is top 5 for me, no doubt in my mind. Dude, Vengeance DH, I played it actually in season 2 when I came back and people were already playing it, but I tested it a bit together with a friend of mine, not like high keys or anything, but it was really good and fun to play, and I think it's going to be extremely fun and good to play right now. And I also think that we healers have had a bit more control before and a bit more responsibility. They also tried to give healers a bit more of a healing check, which I really like in Dragonflight. It's just that it's super annoying to deal with when you're a pugger and not like a premade guy, because if people miss a kick or something goes to shit, you can't really save it anymore because it's so volatile. But I'm not sure if we are going that direction now, because Og came in and Og kind of saved everything and kind of, it's like they are the mother of the group, right? They're making sure that everything is okay. But as I've stated down here, right, Mythic Plus for a healer, because I also have a healer node here, which we are going into, because I am mainly a healer at heart. But a healer is supposedly, our job is like the dirty work, right? We're going to make it easier for both the DPS and the tanks to do their job, because if they do their job effectively, we have to heal less. So if the DPS don't have to kick, for instance, they do more damage. If the tank don't have to group, and we can assist with that, they do more damage easily, and yeah, everything like that, right? So if you have to soak, kick, run, dance, die, sack, whatever, right, we do the dirty work. We make sure they get food on the table, we make sure they do their dirty little laundry, make sure they can just sit there and queue keys, right? That's the healer's job, and it has been like that for a long time. And also, like now, as it's been as well, we need to do damage in the windows that we can do damage. So high damage dealing healers that can just go off the get-go is really good, right? And if your damage includes doing healing, oh, that's amazing as well, right? So that's also kind of like why the meta is what I think it's going to. This is going to cover like the front page, in my opinion. taken from every single list though, because it's not only dorky. Skill capped Mythic Plus, I didn't know they existed on the Mythic Plus side of things, but I guess they just make content to just make content as well and get included on this tier list hype. But Vengeance Demon Hunter is there, Havoc Demon Hunter is there, Combat, Org, Boomy, Disc, Press, Mistweaver. And you can't really, in my opinion, put a Boomy together with a Preservation and a Mistweaver. Preservation doesn't work well with the Augmentation. Mistweaver, you have Mystic Touch to who? To the Havoc maybe? Like, and if you want to have a Boomy, you want to have a Disc. Because you want to put the PI on the Boomy. So, that's basically it though. If you want to swap a bit around, I think Boomy goes out and Mage comes in. That's a possibility. Mistweaver comes in, then the Disc go out. Where are we putting our PI? We don't have a PI. Okay, a Rogue can come in then. And then also Prot Warrior, I think, suits well with Mist because it's physical. But I'm not sure how strong Prot Warrior is, but they put it up there, so I'm gonna put it right there. And Prot Paladin is put here. I think it's a bit of cope. I think I watched a rant on Maximum Stream, and I totally agree. Because Consecration, right? You're good in Consecration. So the mobility is lacking, and Vengeance Demon Hunter is unbelievably strong right now, as I see it. Like the utility you have as a Vengeance Demon Hunter right now is, it's god tier, and if it doesn't get nerfed, it's gonna be one of the most one-sided tank metas in forever, because you have double sigils. When you hit enemies with the sigils, you reduce the cooldowns of your sigils. And on top of that, your sigils are bigger and last longer. And I think you're gonna be a sigil bot with infinite mobility. You have darkness to supplement for like huge burst windows. I don't see it get changed, right? It's so hard for me to not see this class being absolutely insane. So and the tire set as well works so well into it. So I if it doesn't happen any like big changes, Vengeance Demon Hunter is going to be the most prominent tank we have had to this day, and I don't really mind it. I understand it's sad for the older tanks, but for me personally, I love playing Vengeance Demon Hunter. But it looks so strong and so unbelievably good in terms of the part you can play in your group. And for me as a pugger, at least, if I don't find anyone to play with this season, it's gonna be so good to have all that control to me and myself, and that's basically what a tank does as well. A tank cooperates a lot with your healer to make the DPS do as much as they can do, right? So yeah, now that's super hard, but we can go over a bit on the list. Though Skill Capped has put a bit like Tier S, Tier A. I think Skill Capped is more a list you see in terms of casual, a bit more to the casual side. I think Dork is like the top tier, right? And the one that will paint the front page of Raider.io. And his list might be like, I think, for instance though, when it comes to this, Drogo is the healer of the team if they're still together, and didn't they play with Goop? I think he's a natural Boomy, so it's so hard to say like they swapping out. I think what we could see, for instance, Elismir and them play is Disc Mage instead of Boomy, because is it Asuna? Extremely good mage, always been like ridiculous. So it's in terms of what historically has been the team's main and also what the team composition of the guys are, right? So, and Dorky is extremely good multiclasser right now, right? I'm not saying that others aren't, but like he can go whatever he wants, I guess. Drogo, I'm not sure how much disc he plays. I don't think he has an issue picking up disc, because I think disc might be in the easiest place of picking up, and how well they performed in like the Great Push, I think it's easily to see. You have to keep that in mind as well, right? When you look at the meta, why do we have a mage here? Oh, it's because this team prefers a mage or have like a real good mage instead of a boomy. Why do we have a Mistweaver here? Oh, it's because that team has maybe Megaset on their team, extremely good and well-known Mistweaver. Oh, why do we have a Rogue up here so early? Oh, it's because it's funneled gear to Mr. Oh my god, I'm drawing a blank now. Yeah, the Rogue in Liquid. God damn it, man. How can I draw a blank on his name all of a sudden? But yeah, he's known to have like insane gear early, and he's going to, because the race is not gonna last too long. And I think for maybe Prot Paladin, I think Andy is known for being like an enjoyer of the Prot Paladin, but I think he has to waver this time. Vengeance DH this is untouchable in my opinion. Petko's DPS list. I think there's a lot of bias in this list. He's a enjoyer of Elemental and Hunter, and I think this tier A list might be B, and this tier plus. I'm not sure why he rated it like this, but I put it in here at least, and also to maybe prove a point that I think he has a bias towards Hunter, putting all the specs in tier A. But I'm not really sure. But seeing Frost down here is hard for me to swallow, because I saw how well it performed on in the showcase as well. So and I think it's said to be maybe with Funnel one of the best single target damage dealers. So Madskills TV, I've been following this guy such a long time, since Legion, I think, at the same time that I maybe started watching or picking up a bit of Schmock as well. But I found his list as well, maybe a bit outdated. He still praises HPAL or Resto Druid as well. And Disc is also there. But I'm not sure about HPAL. I'm gonna consider, like Dorky doesn't have HPAL up there. I think also Drogo might doom them a bit, because they went from being extremely good to dog shit in maybe people's opinion, because when you play something that's really extremely good and they get a lot of nerfs and they get also a really dull set tire, it's really easy to just, fuck it, I'm not gonna play this, it's so boring right now, because you have kind of peaked with the class and done extremely good. But what I think I'm gonna put them as is a slow starter. I think Paladin has always been really good going towards the end of the expansion, because they scale really good, they scale extremely good. And in certain scenarios they have such utility and everything like that. So Perseverance Evoker are for both of these guys in the second. Like Automatic Jackdaw this is a cope, right? He's putting HPAL in, and I think it's like a troll or an envy, because he's been outspoken, and he's not a Holy Paladin enjoyer, and he's not really a like Holy Paladin has been historically one of the best healers, but I do think that there's a misconception there as well, because I think Resto Druid has also been historically one of the best, or maybe Resto is the best. I saw some spreadsheets, by the way, on Twitter from that, some legit ones. But yeah, Troll and Envy, I'm not sure, man, but he has a tendency to like overhype or maybe throw them under the bus though, right? They have been nerfed to the ground, man. And maybe this is also outdated because I think the list was a bit old as well. So maybe it hasn't updated it since then, or like CBA, right? Hit most groups is I think it's super hard for persuasion to get in, man. Like you only have one dragon and it's augmentation, man. I think it's super hard to justify. I think it's mostly together with the groups that have a chance or are pre-made, right? And then we go over to this. That's mostly it for what other people and like kind of like the biases as well. I know that Manskills also was like a giga HPAL enjoyer, and I think if he started in Legion, like Legion HPAL was peak HPAL in my opinion. I'm also biased, so biased, man. But I did a write-up on the healers in terms of like blatantly what they bring to a group and why it is like it is right now. And it wouldn't, like, I have no real issue with having a huge variety to this season, but it's so hard for me to justify any other coming close to Disc Priest just because of some of the things that we are going to go through now. And they have a Dispel AoE, they have offensive Dispels, it's still good, and maybe also this might be mandatory in like high keys if you're that kind of guy. We have to wait and see how that, but they still have Soothe as well. Their damage is said to be nutty, at least from the scaling that is right now on PTR. But I heard Dorky was complaining a bit about them being squishy. But at least, in my opinion, that's where also it comes in a bit in terms of perspective. They are pushing like insanely high scuffed ass keys on PTR with a gear that maybe be lackluster and maybe like, at least for me as a healer, and I think a lot of other healers are trying to serve the others before serving themselves. And I think when you're limit testing this hard in like a PTR setting, you tend to die a lot instead of trying to survive, and it's out of your control. So but at least it was said maybe lack some healing as well, and ramping, it requires a lot of ramp. I think it's a lot less ramp now than it was before, because you have a couple of keys that has been absolutely removed. Still the best damage external, even though it's nerfed. 2 times pain suppression and dome, still good. I'm gonna take the set tire together with everything, and also, yeah, the niche thing about Disc Priest and always have been, we're going back to some old dungeons, we never know, but it didn't take me long to find a pack in Everbloom. Actually, the first pack in Everbloom has like one mob that you can buff, and you can have 100% uptime on this, and it's an enrage that you buff a player with 50% damage increase and 70% attack speed enrage buff from this mob, and it's spread all over the dungeon, so you don't need to like bring this guy all over the place. You can kill him off and pick him off somewhere else. Looks shady, but that's also why Disc Priest, right? Because they have this mind control tech that you can bring on some niche keys. Holy Priest, they just lack in terms of, it's a better healer in the same class, so they have this same thing, but just they are more like a healer instead of a damage dealing healer. Holy Paladin still has the best utility in the game though. You can't take away from Hand of Sacrifice, Hand of Freedom, Hand of Protection, Aura Mastery, Kick, Stun, Bubble Taunt, and they are still, I know there's been nerfs to them, but they are still a rock, and you can just bubble, right, if things go shit. So maybe for pug reasons, Holy Paladin might be a bit better in my opinion. I think like for pug, pure pug, Holy Paladin and Resto Druid, maybe also Mistweaver might be better. Always been a slow starter, yes, that's also like the thing. Druid, Bark, good at CC, AoE control, if you like to spec into it, not sure. Don't know about the damage. I remember playing this in Season 1 a lot, but it was cringe as fuck, right? You have so many keys at the end, and you wanted like Star Surge, you wanted Rake, you wanted... So it was like a global cooldown fiesta. You were super strong, but if you pugged keys with the rest of it was absolutely garbage, because you never knew if people were actually doing mechanics correctly, or if you had to stay on put to try to heal some incoming damage coming down. Mistweaver have Ring of Peace, Kick, Touch, Cocoon, Tiger's Lust, TP, AoE stun, solid defense I think, with Diffuse, Brew, Expel Harm. But I'm pretty much on thin ice here when it comes to Mistweaver, but I've heard rumors about nutty healing and damage. But for me at least, seeing it up from the outside, like Mythic Plus is like such a niche place to play as well, because you're trying to min-max what you can bring to a group, and I'm not sure how they fit into a group, and if Mystic Touch is enough. Yeah, Resto Shamans, man, we can go back though. Resto Shamans doesn't exist here. I think it's super sad. Resto Shamans still has the best kick in the game. Insane utility, or not insane, great utility with Stun, Root, Link, but just down bad it seems like, right? And then we have the set tires for everyone. Like Disc Priest get their set tire really baked into everything, and I think the weakness that was talked about in terms of like ramp and certain things like that, I think it helps a lot with the atonement duration. Holy Paladin has some kind of, I think it's a niche, but it could maybe with scaling be extremely good, like the overlapping glimmer thing you can do for damage and HPS. It might even buff their single target damage when you go later on into the expansion, or the update like 10.2. Daybreak seems a bit boring, I'm not gonna lie. It's a dull like quick fix to things, but it could line up really nice with Divine Toll. But please fix mouse over Divine Toll right now. It's still fucking bugged, man. But anyways, Resto Druid gets a set tire bonus tied to their GG boys. Guardian Groove Guardian. And it's like a clear cast that has like insane healing, but seems RNG to some extent. But it's said that after you cast a regrowth after your clear cast, it will also cost Nourish for 200% on the target that has most hots. So you can kind of maneuver this around and play around with it. And I'm most certain that it will be a week or out that would say that this target is gonna get the Nourish if you clear cast, use your clear cast now. Mistweaver has a set dot that gives you Chi Harmony, I think it was, which seems like a burst thing, and it seems a bit random, but it might be easy to control and pull off, and that might also be why they are doing not the healing right now. So I'm not 100% sure on it, I haven't tested it out too much. Resto Shaman, kind of like the same with some Thundering River or blah blah. I didn't put myself too much into the set bonus of Resto Shaman, just because fix them, please. But anyways, I'm sorry, Resto Shaman mains, man. Keep in mind, this is just a tier list based on others, first and foremost. And also, just to be blatant, and I'm not afraid to say it, my guesses, but please, before you choose anything, make sure to check out, are you weekly key Vendy, pushing key poll, Blasting Key Barry. Weekly what? I'm a premade Patricia. Fresh Key Freddy. Because if you're one of these, some of them can get away with a lot more variance or variety to their pool, which others cannot, right? So with that, I present to you my tier list at least. And it's no surprise what I just said. And we have the front page of Raider.io. It's gonna look like this. There's no doubt in my mind it's gonna look like this. If nothing changes until the Season 3 launch, the start is gonna look like this. And that's also, it's not based on purely me, right, and wild guessing. It's based on what I've seen and kind of spoke about. And I think Dorky said this on the first, like when he put together. You can mix in these. And you can see these on like the second, third, fourth page maybe. Yeah. Slow starter, dark horse, and MDI. So slow starter, dark horse, MDI. Yeah. I think with like slow starter, mainly the paladin. Feral I put in. It was up there together with others, and Unholy I've heard rumors about is insane, and it is an MDI. I think it was Dorky that said that, but both Blood and Unholy might be absolutely bonkers with the new legendary weapon. We don't know how insane it's going to be, but reminder is that this is the second to last update we have before expansion, right? So I think it's going to be a fun, it's not going to be like a super downer legendary. Hunter is put here because of we have some extremely good Hunter enjoyers in the community, which might pick up some gear early on and do really good with it. So, and also might be a MDI. Yeah. Some wild guesses. I hope it was somewhat educational. I think it's extremely important to find out who you are before you watch a tier list. Because if you're not willing to put down work and effort to improve yourself and start blaming all others before actually seeing that, okay, it was maybe me that missed that kick and it wiped the whole group, but I don't want to admit it, then maybe we need to take a look if you're gonna run meta or not, right? Anyways, you can catch me on the YouTube daily. You can catch me on Twitch daily. The link is below, twitch.tv/Juansari. I will be casually streaming and doing keys. I think what I will be doing this season is playing a bunch of different classes. I have Vengeance Demon Hunter that is pretty much geared, not like insane. It's close to 40, I think it's going to be 440. My Paladin is the best geared, so I'm gonna play Vengeance Druid, Holy Paladin, maybe try to do some keys on the rest of Druid, but not my priority. I want to try to gear my disc even more. My disc is a bit low gear though, and I'm a bit late to the party, but I think it's gonna be fine. Then I also just with the boost that you get from the new buying the new expansion War Within, I got a Mistweaver up. So for me it's gonna be like I'm gonna try to spread out a bit and do a bit of everything in the beginning and just keep progressing that slowly and steadily, and maybe not really push high keys until later on. At least that's my plan, and then I can see what it's gonna take off and good or bad. And also it really depends on if I find some players that have the same commitment and the same excitement about trying to improve and get better in the game. And yeah, that's it for this. Make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoy the content, and I wish you the best of luck in your keys, and please, for the love of God and safety of everyone else, try to not tilt, and please look in the mirror before starting to blaming others, okay? Stay safe out there, enjoy your keys, and may everyone deplete 120 in the first week, okay? Adios amigos.